Welcome, metal enthusiasts, to episode 2 of The Metal Dude Abides. We are on the second video, counting down the top 100 heavy metal songs of all time, as listed by Rolling Stone magazine in a recent issue. So the rules of this are simple. We are going to go through song by song, critiquing the list. And I am given 3 choices. 1, get rid of the artist and the song. 2, keep the artist but change the song to a song I think is more appropriate. Or finally, keep the artist and the song that the Rolling Stone chose. I believe in our first list, we kept 2 song-artist combinations. We'll see how many we have today. With that being said, let's get to the list. All right, starting off the list today at number 90, Rolling Stone has Anthrax, Bring the Noise. Now, I love Anthrax, one of the big 4, great band. They did a song with Public Enemy that was both a big hit for them and, of course, groundbreaking, as it brought together the elements of hardcore rap and thrash metal together for the first time. Groundbreaking, trend-setting, maybe even like a premonition, if you will, of the nu metal age to come. There's only one problem with all that. I don't like rap. Not even a little bit. So I gotta throw this song out. Instead, I'm going to go controversial right off the bat. As you guys probably heard from my first video, big fan of John Bush. So I'm going to go away from the Joey Belladonna Anthrax and go to 1993's Sound of White Noise. Now, this was the first album featuring John Bush, and it's one of my all-time favorite Anthrax albums and one of my all-time favorite heavy metal albums. This could potentially be in my top 20 heavy metal albums of all time. It has hit after hit after hit. But the song off that album I'm going to select is 1,000 Points of Hate, a sarcastic mockery of George Herbert Walker's campaign, 1,000 Points of Light. If you remember back in the day, very famous presidential campaign slogan. Now, this song has special meaning for me because at the time this came out, I was dealing with a lot of anger issues in my youth, and this song was really touched on all that. Because the premise of this song is that, you can hurt a lot of people in your anger, but ultimately you hurt yourself. And so that is one of those, a song that really captured my mood, my dark anger at that time, but also was very therapeutic to say, dude, knock it off. You're only hurting yourself in the long run. Went through, a few jobs and a few relationships before I kind of figured that one out. But so not only did this song have deep meaning for me, really helped me out of a dark time. So got to put it on here. So again, at number 90, Anthrax, 1,000 Points of Hate. Coming in at number 89 on the Rolling Stones list, Suicidal Tendencies with You Can't Bring Me Down. This is probably the toughest choice I've had to date on the list because I'm not going to keep this song, but I love Suicidal Tendencies. I love this song, and I actually think this is my favorite Suicidal Tendencies album. Lots of really good songs off that. But ultimately, I have to go with another band and another song that has to be on this list. And the band, Prong, and the song, Snap Your Fingers, Snap Your Neck, off the 1994 Cleansing album. Now, this is considered groove metal. If that means catchy as hell, then this is it. There's a whole lot of internet challenges, bang your head challenges. Well, if I'm going to put a song in there to challenge people not to bang their heads, it might be this one. This is a fantastic song that really moves, that really has a great beat, and will have you shouting at the top of your lungs, cheers, cheers. I love that bit. Anyway, Prong's getting in, and it's well deserved. One of the best songs, catchiest songs of all time. So coming in at number 89, the great band Prong. Snap your fingers, snap your neck. All right. Coming in at number 88 on the Rolling Stone list is Life of Agony with This Time. I'm not going to keep Life of Agony on this list. Instead, I'm going with the Australian powerhouse Parkway Drive, who has been a hit machine for the last decade. Every album they put out has hit after hit after hit. And this is kind of an interesting dilemma that I haven't run into yet, but I'm obsessed with their latest album, and two songs in particular, Darker Still and The Greatest Fear. And so I really toyed with the idea of putting one of those songs on this list. But then I got to thinking about the fact that that album just came out in 2022, and maybe it's too soon to put anything out that recent on an all-time list. Maybe like a fine wine, I need to let that one age a bit and see how I feel about it in a few years. Kind of like what they do in sports with the Hall of Fame. You don't want to just put people in during the emotional point of their retirement, but wait 5 years and see how that sentiment ages. So instead, the one thing about Parkway Drive is they've got plenty of songs to choose from, and they have a signature song. And what I mean by that is there are some bands that may have great songs throughout their catalog, but there's one song that kind of defines them, that everybody loves. It's a big hit, and that is obviously, for Parkway Drive, the song Vice Grip. At the end of the day, that's the song that I needed to pick. It's a song that I went ahead and did pick. You really, when you start talking about the top 100 heavy metal albums or heavy metal songs of all time, Vice Grip does deserve that spot. The beautiful thing about Parkway Drive is they're not only catchy, but they're also very heavy. And so it's the perfect blend, and I couldn't leave them out. So once again, at number 88, Parkway Drive with Vice Grip. Coming in at number 87 on the Rolling Stone Countdown is At the Gates with Slaughter of the Soul. I'm going to replace that with a really surprising song. 2014, the Alan Landy Group, Down from the Mountain. Now this is a song, essentially, I stumbled upon almost by accident. I'd never heard of Alan Landy before, heard this song, instantly fell in love with it. If you like that classic heavy metal with tremendous vocals, this is the song for you. It's fast, it's aggressive, great vocals, great driving track, sensational. So I thought, wow, I really not just stumbled upon a great song, but this band is fantastic. And then I went through the rest of their catalog and found something very surprising, that this song seems to be very unique in their catalog. And a lot of the other songs that you'll hear from this band are kind of more in that symphonic realm, much more softer, still great vocals, great instrumentation, but much more soft, melodic, almost, like I said, not that really heavy classical approach. So in some sense, kind of a bit of a one-hit wonder, but what a hit. This song has everything you ever wanted. So it gets on the countdown today at number 87. Alan Landy, Down from the Mountain. Coming in at number 86 on the list is King Crimson with 21st Century Schizoid Man. One of the criticisms that Rolling Stone gets from time to time, and a criticism that I actually agree with, is they tend to skew much older than the audience of today, which is one of the reasons why they've been kind of disconnected from heavy metal. Heavy metal wasn't really a thing in the 60s when Rolling Stone was at its peak. And so here's an example, I believe, of them trying to fit an older song into a list that really has no place in that list. Now let me set the record straight. I think 21st Century Schizoid Man is a great song. I like it. But I don't think it's heavy metal, and I don't think it's hard rock. I think it's progressive rock. This is a song that came out in like 1969 and doesn't really belong on the list. But since we're talking about progressive bands and we're talking about kings, why not switch it around and instead put in a Queen? And in this case, Queen as in Bohemian Rhapsody. Now I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, well, wait a minute. You just went from one progressive band to another, as Queen is not really heavy metal, but they're definitely hard rock. And this song gets a pass because it's part of the family. It was brought in through the soundtrack and the movie Wayne's World. If you've ever seen Wayne's World, one of the funniest movies of all time, and one of the iconic scenes in the movie is Wayne and Garth are cruising around and Bohemian Rhapsody comes on, and they do this fantastic headbanging skit to it. So, is it heavy metal? No. But is it part of the heavy metal family? Absolutely. And it is one of the greatest songs of all time, so why not put it into the list? At number 86, Queen with Bohemian Rhapsody. Coming in at number 85 is the band Body Count with the song There Goes the Neighborhood. Now you know the old saying, rules are meant to be broken, even if they're your own. And so originally when I was making this list, I took the artist and the song and out it went. And I replaced it with a very good song from the band Drowning Pool, the song Bodies. Again, another one of those kind of groove metal songs that you really can't stop from banging your head to. But as the week went by, I couldn't get There Goes the Neighborhood out of my head either. And I started to think maybe I should just leave it in there. It's a very catchy song. It's an iconic song. And quite frankly, it's a song I'd kind of forgotten about, but enjoy a great deal. And then it occurred to me, I can't throw out Drowning Pool and Bodies because I like that song very much as well. And I think it does belong in the top 100. So now I'm at the horns of a dilemma, as they say. So I had an idea. Coming in at number 85, we have a tie between Body Count, There Goes the Neighborhood, and Drowning Pool, Bodies. Much like I discussed in last week's video, who am I to throw Ice-T off this list? Let's keep them both in there. Technically, this just moved to the greatest 101 greatest heavy metal songs of all time. But who's counting? Two great songs. Both deserve the spot. We'll keep them both in. Coming in at number 84 on the Rolling Stones list is White Zombie, Thunder Kiss 65. This was my intro to White Zombie. I remember hearing the song for the first time, and it was like a bolt of lightning. It was a jolt of energy. There was a lot of, good heavy metal music back then. But when this came out, there was nothing remotely like it. I remember it so distinctly because it was so original, and instantly fell in love with it. And just to show you how big White Zombie became, almost instantly they were doing a co-headliner tour with Pantera. I was lucky enough to see that at Red Rocks. It was a fantastic show. But to move from a basic unknown band to a headliner tells you just how fresh and exciting this band was. Now, unfortunately for White Zombie, Rob Zombie went off and left the band to do a solo career. And even though Thunder Kiss 65 is a fantastic song, I have to go with my favorite song, which is one that he did as a solo artist, the song Dragula. Now, we must be getting into a stretch of music where I was in a certain mindset when I went through this stretch of music, because we're getting groove metal after groove metal after groove metal. Dragula is so catchy and so headbanging worth. It's fantastic. The video's hilarious. I mean, it's off the album called Hellbilly Deluxe. Classic Rob Zombie hilarity. I love this song. I love White Zombie, but I have to say, in this instance, I like Rob Zombie just a little bit more. So I'm going to put his song in at number 84, Rob Zombie, Dragula. Now coming in at 83 is the band Bolt Thrower and the song World Eater. Now, Bolt Thrower is one of my son's favorite bands, so I'll throw him a little bit of an honorable mention here. But my son rightfully would select from the 2005 Those Once Loyal album the song Granite Wall. That is by far their best album, and I do agree with him that that is their best song. However, we're not going to keep Bolt Thrower on there, and instead we're going to go with a band from the, I guess, late 80s, early 90s, Testament. Now, everyone's familiar with, in the thrash metal world, of the big four. You have, of course, Metallica, Megadeth, Anthrax, and Slayer. And I always thought to myself, what if there was a big five? Who would be maybe the fifth biggest thrash metal band to come out during that time? And quite frankly, it would be hard to argue against Testament. They were part of that original movement. They're definitely a popular thrash metal band. They come from Northern California. They have all the credentials. Somehow or another, Testament didn't quite ever get as big as the other four. Part of that was, I think they were a little slower to get going and to find their feet. And just about the time they were really set to explode, the whole heavy metal industry went kaputskis, and Testament kind of caught left holding the bag. But Testament is definitely a band that deserves that recognition, deserves those credentials as being one of the best thrash metal bands to ever walk the earth. In 1992, they had a great album, and they led it with kind of a musical intro and then song. Signs of Chaos / Electric Crown is the song I'm choosing today. Now, I could go for a number of Testament songs, but this is absolutely my favorite, and it's absolutely my favorite album, even though, again, they had 2 or 3 albums right in a row that were very good. I read some reviews about this album, and many people say this is as close to Testament coming to that traditional heavy metal that I love. So maybe that's why this song and this album stick out to me as their best. It is kind of a beautiful blend of traditional heavy metal plus thrash metal, all brought together in a fantastic first musical number, and then the main course to that, Electric Crown, a fantastic song, and a song, like I said, that I think was really on the verge of breaking Testament big before the whole heavy metal music industry fell apart. So I'll give you a little insight. I'm not sure I wouldn't put Testament in the big four, and maybe one of those big four I would take out. Spoiler alert, we'll talk about that later on the list. So coming in at number 83 is Testament with Signs of Chaos, Electric Crown. Coming in at number 82 was Kitty with Spit. Now, I'll be completely honest about this. I don't believe I'd ever heard of Kitty before. I'm kind of surprised to see them on this list. I thought, well, I better check them out before I just toss them aside. Pretty good, but didn't really care for the vocals much and don't believe that this is anywhere near top 100 material. Instead, I'm going with a band that I really love called The Pretty Reckless. This is the song Follow Me Down, the story of little Cindy Lou Who finding her sexual identity. What could be more wholesome than that? For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, Cindy Lou Who, of course, was Taylor Morrison played her in the movie adaptation of The Grinch That Stole Christmas, starring Jim Carrey. I find it interesting that that's 2 Jim Carrey references in 2 videos. But anyway, Taylor Morrison is the lead singer for The Pretty Reckless. Really great vocalist. Has kind of an interesting style. Metal, but also has a little tinge of blues to it. Really enjoy it quite a bit. This album was kind of their big breakthrough album, Going to Hell, in 2014. They had some big hits off this album and kind of got them on the charts, if you will, got them on the map. So we're going to put them on here at number 82. Pretty Reckless, Follow Me Down. And finally, wrapping up the list today, Rolling Stone at number 81 has Twisted Sister, We're Not Gonna Take It. Dee Snider, no, we are not. We are not going to keep Twisted Sister on this list. Twisted Sister, in and of themselves, a fine band, but was so overplayed, especially their hits. We talked about this a little bit last week with Beartooth, in that some bands have some decent songs in their catalog, but they're the deeper cuts, and the songs that are considered the big hits for the band, I don't really care for. Twisted Sister might be the poster child for this phenomenon. Do not like their big hits. They were played to death. It got to a point where a Twisted Sister song would come on the radio or come on MTV, and I would just cringe. It's like, I can't listen to this song ever again. While at the same point, they had some pretty good songs like You Can't Stop Rock and Roll, or The Price, or Burn in Hell, all deeper cuts that really didn't ever reach the level of a song like We're Not Gonna Take It. So Twisted Sister, you gotta go. I've heard this song for the last time. Instead, I'm going to move from an overplayed band that I didn't like to an overplayed band that I do like, and that is Whitesnake, and their trademark song, Still of the Night. Now, if you remember from last week's video, I have several guitarists that I have a fetish over, and one of those guitarists is John Sykes. John Sykes never really lands with a band in particular, but seems to travel about from band to band, and wherever he goes, they move from a good band to a great band. Here's again a perfect example of this as he moves into the band Whitesnake. Whitesnake was a band that I really liked quite a bit, but when John Sykes comes into the band, they put out 2 sensational albums. One, Slide It In, with several songs on there that I considered for this list, and then to the aforementioned 1987 Whitesnake album, where Still of the Night is located. Now here's the funny story, at least for some of us. John Sykes is the guitarist of record who helped write Still of the Night. But David Coverdale got very upset, had a fit, if you will, and fired the entire band. So by the time the album's released, John Sykes is no longer in the band. And when they do the promotional videos for this song, and they go out on concert for this song, they've replaced him with Adrian Vandenberg and Vivian Campbell. So when you see the videos, or if you saw them on tour, even though this was John Sykes' song, you're going to see other guitarists playing it. Kind of one of those interesting stories. But it doesn't dull the fact that this is a fantastic album. This is a fantastic song. And John Sykes is just, again, a great guitarist. One of the biggest hits, one of the better videos, actually, as well, as David Coverdale. This would be the first of the Tawny Kitaen trilogy videos, where, of course, David Coverdale meets supermodel Tawny Kitaen. They fall in love. She's in 3 of his videos. They get married. You know, just the typical heavy metal love story. Supermodels and lead singers, you know. So, really funny stuff. And spoiler alert, we may not yet have seen the last of John Sykes. So, coming in at number 81, Whitesnake, Still of the Night. And that wraps everything up for this second edition. Stay tuned next week. We're going to be doing numbers 80 through 71. Until then, take care and see you next week on The Metal Dude Abides.